good day everyone. I am Nimel Villarmino, one of the reporters of the Group 9. So for today, I will be tackling about the Filipino-American relations and the biography of Dr. Jose Rizal. So let us first tackle about the Filipino-American relations. The relations between the Philippines and the United States have traditionally been very good. For one, there is an unusual colonial relationship wherein the United States took control of the Philippines from the Spanish and then shared power with an emergent Filipino elite, introduced suffrage, implemented public education, promised eventual national independence. A shared experience fighting the Japanese in World War II and defeating a post-war communist rebellion further cemented the special relationship between the two countries. The United States took advantage of the partnership to compel the Philippines to sign an economic and military treaty that favored American businesses and military respectively. While the United States leveraged its power through economic and military treaties, Filipino leaders navigated strategically to assert national interests. Periods of strain, notably during the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos, were followed by rekindling of the special relationship, in response to mutual threats like terrorism and Chinese aggression. Despite historically strong ties, President Duterte's pivot towards China reflects a shift in foreign policy. Despite this, the Philippines remain a significant non-NATO ally of the U.S. Public opinion has generally favored the United States, although Duterte's announcement of a separation in 2016 underscored evolving dynamics in the partnership. Now let's move on to the biography of Dr. Jose Rizal. Dr. Jose Rizal was born in 1861 to Francisco Mercado and Teodora Alonzo at Calamba in Laguna Province. He was the author of the novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo and a number of poems and essays. At the early age, Jose already showed a precious intellect. He learned the alphabet from his mother at 3 and he could write and read at the age of 5. He is widely considered as one of the greatest heroes of the Philippines and has been recommended to be so honored by an officially impaneled National Heroes Committee. He is executed by the Spanish colonial government for the crime of rebellion after the Philippine Revolution. Rizal first studied under Justiniano Aquino Cruz in Binyan, Laguna, before he was sent to Manila. As to his father's request, he took the entrance examination in Colegio de San Juan de Letran, but he then enrolled at the Ateneo Municipal de Manila and graduated as one of the 9 students in his class declared sobresaliente or outstanding. Upon enrolling at the Ateneo Municipal de Manila, he dropped the last 3 names that made up his full name, on the advice of his brother Pasiano and the Mercado family. Gikontinyo niya iapag-eskwela sa Ateneo Municipal de Manila to obtain a land surveyor and assessor's degree. At the same time, nikuha sa siya og preparatory exam in law sa University of Santo Tomas. Pagkahibaw niya nga padung na mabuta iya hamama, he then decided to switch to medicine at the Medical School of Santo Tomas, specializing in ophthalmology. He traveled alone to Madrid, Spain in May 1882 without the knowledge and consent of his parents. Then, ang gasupport ra niya secretly kay ang iya hakuya nga si Pasiano. Niadto siya Madrid, Spain para mag-study og medicine at the Universidad Central de Madrid where he earned the degree Licentiate in Medicine. He also attended medical lectures at the University of Paris and the University of Heidelberg. At Heidelberg, the 25-year-old Rizal completed in 1887 his eye specialization under the renowned professor Otto Becker. Then, there he used the newly invented ophthalmoscope invented by Hermann von Helmholtz to later operate on his mother's eye. Rizal's multifacetedness was described by his German friend Dr. Adolf Bernhard Meyer as stupendous. Documented studies show him to be a polymath with the ability to master various skills and subjects. He was an ophthalmologist, sculptor, painter, educator, farmer, historian, playwright, and a journalist. Besides poetry and creative writing, he dabbled with varying degrees of expertise in architecture, cartography, economics, ethnology, anthropology, sociology, dramatics, martial arts, fencing, and pistol shooting. He was also a Freemason, joining Acacia Lodge Number 9 during his time in Spain and becoming a Master Mason in 1884. After makagraduate ni Rizal sa Ateneo Municipal de Manila, which is gitawag na karon og Ateneo de Manila University, nibisita si Rizal sa iya maternal grandmother adto sa Tondo, Manila. Kauban ng iya amigo nga si Mariano Katigbak. Kauban sad ni Mariano ang iya igsuon nga si Segunda Katigbak, a 14-year-old Batangueña from Lipa, Batangas. It was the first meeting of Segunda and Rizal described her as rather short with eyes that were eloquent and ardent at times, and languid as others, rosy cheek with an enchanting and provocative smile that revealed very beautiful teeth and the air of a sylph. Her entire self diffused a mysterious charm. His grandmother knew that Rizal had skills in painting. They suggested that Rizal should make a portrait of Segunda. He complied reluctant and made the pencil sketch of her. Unfortunately for him, na-engage na si Katigbak kang Manuel Luz. Leonor Rivera is thought to be the inspiration for the character of Maria Clara in Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. Rivera and Rizal first met in Manila when Rivera was only 14 years old. When Rizal left for Europe on May 3, 1882, Rivera was 16 years of age. Their correspondence began when Rizal left a poem for Rivera saying farewell. When Rizal returned to the Philippines on August 5, 1887, Rivera and her family had moved back to Dagupan, Pangasinan. Rizal was forbidden by his father Francisco Mercado to see Rivera in order to avoid putting the Rivera family in danger because at that time, Rizal was already labeled by the Cruelo elite as a filibustero or subversive because of his novel Noli Me Tangere. Rizal wanted to marry Rivera while he was still in the Philippines. Because of Rivera's uncomplaining fidelity, Rizal asked permission from his father one more time before his second departure from the Philippines. The meeting never happened. In 1888, Rizal stopped receiving letters from Rivera for a year. Although Rizal kept sending letters to Rivera, the reason for Rivera's year of silence was the connivance between Rivera's mother and the Englishman named Henry Keating. A railway engineer who fell in love with Rivera was favored by Rivera's mother. The news of Leonor Rivera's marriage to Keating devastated Rizal. Pagka February 1895, at the age of 33, Rizal met Josephine Bracken, usa ka Irish woman gikan sa Hong Kong. Giubanan niya iamahan nga usa ka buta para magpa-check sa mata adto kang Rizal. Sa sigig balik-balik nila didto, Rizal and Josephine fell in love with each other. Ni-try sila og apply para magpakasal pero tungod sa reputation ni Rizal, giingnan siya ni Father Aubach nga mukasal siya nilang duha kung mangayo siya og permission adto sa bishop adto sa Cebu. After accompanying her father to Manila and on her return to Hong Kong and before heading back to Dapitan to live with Rizal, Josephine introduced herself to the members of Rizal's family in Manila. His mother suggested a civil marriage which she believed to be a lesser sacrament but less sinful to Rizal's conscience than making any sort of political retraction in order to gain permission from the bishop. Rizal and Josephine lived as a husband and wife in common law marriage in Talisay in Dapitan. The couple had a son who lived only for a few hours after Josephine suffered a miscarriage. Rizal named him after his father, Francisco. In 1890, Rizal left Paris for Brussels as he was preparing for the publication of his annotation of Antonio de Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. Historian Gregorio F. Zaidi states that Rizal had his romance with Susan Jacobi, the petite niece of his landladies. Belgian prose Slack Mulders, however, believed that Rizal had a romance with a 17-year-old niece, Susanna Thiel, as his other liaisons were all with young women. He found records clarifying their names and ages. The content of Rizal's writings changed considerably in his two most famous novels. Noli Me Tangere, published in Berlin in 1887, and Il Filibusterismo, published in Ghent in 1891. From the latter, he used funds borrowed from his friends. These writings angered both the Spanish colonial elite and mainly educated Filipinos due to their symbolism. At that time, he had already been declared as the enemy of the state by the Spanish authorities because of the publication of his novel. As Blumentritt warned, these books resulted as Rizal's being prosecuted as the inciter of revolution. He was eventually tried by the military, convicted, and executed. Teaching the native where they stood brought about an adverse reaction, as the Philippine Revolution of 1896 took off virulently thereafter. As leader of the reform movement of Filipino students in Spain, Rizal contributed an editorials to the Spanish essays, allegories, poems, newspaper La Solidaridad in Barcelona. In this case, Rizal used a pen named Di Masalang, Laong Laan, and May Pag-asa. The core of his writing centers on liberal and progressive ideas of individual rights and freedom, specifically rights for the Filipino people. Upon his return to Manila in 1892, he formed a civic movement called La Liga Filipina. The League advocated these moderated social reforms through legal means but was disbanded by the governor. Rizal was arrested en route to Cuba via Spain and was imprisoned in Barcelona in October 6, 1896. He was sent back the same day to Manila to stand trial as he was implicated in the revolution through his association with members of the Katipunan. During the entire passage, he was unchained. Spaniard laid a hand on him and had many opportunities to escape. By 1896, the rebellion fermented by the Katipunan, a militant secret society, had become a full-blown revolution, proving to be a nationwide uprising. Rizal had earlier volunteered his services as a doctor in Cuba and was given leave by Governor General Ramon Blanco to serve in Cuba to minister to victims of yellow fever. Rizal and Josephine left Dapitan on August 1, 1896 with a letter of recommendation from Blanco. Rizal was tried before a court-martial for rebellion, sedition, and conspiracy, was convicted on all three charges, and sentenced to death. He was secretly buried in Paco Cemetery in Manila with no identification on his grave. His sister Narcisa toured all possible grave sites and found freshly turned earth at the cemetery with guards posted at the gate. Assuming this could be the most likely spot, there never having any ground burials, she made a gift to the caretaker to mark the site RPJ, Rizal's initials in reverse. In his letter to his family, he wrote, "Treat our aged parents as you would wish to be treated. Love them greatly in memory of me. December 30, 1896. He gave his family instructions for his burial. Bury me in the ground. Place a stone and a cross over it. My name, the date of my birth, and of my death. Nothing more. If later you wish to surround my grave with a fence, you can do it. No anniversaries. In his final letter to Blumentritt, tomorrow at 7 I shall be shot, but I am innocent of the crime of rebellion. I am going to die with a tranquil conscience. Rizal is believed to be the first Filipino revolutionary whose death is attributed entirely to his work as a writer, and through dissent and civil disobedience enabled him to successfully destroy Spain's moral primacy to rule. After analyzing 6 major documents of Rizal, Ricardo Pascual concluded that the retraction document, said to have been discovered in 1935, was not in Rizal's handwriting. Senator Rafael Palma, a former president of the University of the Philippines and a prominent Mason, argued that a retraction is not in keeping with Rizal's character and mature beliefs. He called retraction a frank Laubach, a Protestant minister, Austin Costes, a British writer, and Ricardo Manapat, director of the National Archives. Josephine Bracken, whom Rizal addressed as his wife on his last day, promptly joined the revolutionary forces in Cavite province, making her way through thicket and mud across enemy lines, and helped reloading spent cartridges at the arsenal in Imus under the Revolutionary General Pantaleon Garcia. Imus came under threat of recapture that the operation was moved with Bracken to Maragondon, the mountain redoubt in Cavite. She later married another Filipino, Vicente Abad, a mestizo acting as agent for the Tabacalera firm in the Philippines. She died of tuberculosis in Hong Kong in March 15, 1902, and was buried at the Happy Valley Cemetery. She was immortalized by Rizal in the last stanza of Mi Ultimo Adios, or Farewell, Sweet Stranger, my friend, my joy.
Good day everyone, I'm Mark Angelo Icantia from Group 9, and here's my topic about biography of Andres Bonifacio. Andres Bonifacio was born on November 30, 1863, son of Santiago Bonifacio and Catalina de Castro. By the mid-1880s, he had become a fervent Filipino nationalist through his experiences and observations of the injustices and oppression under Spanish colonial rule. Andres Bonifacio worked as a warehouseman, and messenger exposed him to the harsh realities faced by his fellow Filipinos, foiling his passion for social justice and independence. He believed in the inherent right of the Filipino people to self-determination and sovereignty, leading him to become an advocate for national liberation. When Jose Rizal established the Liga Filipina in 1892, Bonifacio was one of its first members. After the Spanish arrested Rizal in July 1892 for his alleged involvement in the anti-colonial activities of the Katipunan, a secret revolutionary society that sought independence from Spanish rule. Bonifacio decided that the Philippines would only achieve independence through revolution. On July 7, Andres Bonifacio officially founded the Katipunan in years 1892. The Katipunan, also known as the Kataas-Taasan, Kagalang-Galangan Katipunan, ng mga anak ng bayan, was a secret revolutionary society aimed at achieving the Philippines' independence from Spanish colonial rule through armed rebellion. By 1896, the Katipunan had over 30,000 members and functioned at the national, province, and municipal levels. Following the execution of Rizal on December 30, 1896, Bonifacio proclaimed Filipino independence on August 23, 1896. Bonifacio, along with other revolutionary leaders, proclaimed the country's independence and launched the revolution against Spanish domination. The event, known as the Cry of Pugad Lawin, marked the beginning of the armed struggle for freedom and sovereignty. During the city of Pugadlawin, Bonifacio tore up his cedula as a symbolic act of defame against Spanish authority. And during the cry of Pugadlawin, Bonifacio tore up his cedula as a symbolic act of defiance against Spanish authority. May 10, 1897, Andres Bonifacio dead. He was executed by a firing squad in the Mounters. He was executed by a firing squad in the mountains of Maragondon, Cavite, Philippines. Bonifacio's death marked a tragic end to his rule in the Philippine Revolution against Spanish colonial rule. Today, Andres Bonifacio is regarded as a national hero of the Philippines. In fact, every year his birthday of November 30th is celebrated as a national public holiday, a rest day on which workers still receive pay.
Cayetano Arellano was born in March 2, 1847. He was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in our country. He was the son of Servando Arellano and Crispura Lonzon. He was educated at Colegio de San Juan de Letran in Manila for elementary and secondary education. After completing his secondary education, he transferred to the University of Santo Tomas, where he earned a Bachelor of Philosophy in 1862 and Bachelor of Theology in 1867, followed by the Bachelor of Laws in 1876. He studied languages as Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, French, and Spanish. After becoming a lawyer, he established his own office and taught civil law at the University of Santo Tomas. He served as a legal advisor to the various officials in Spanish colonial government, and earning a reputation as an intelligent lawyer. He also served as a member of Consultative Assembly during the last day of Spanish rule. In 1886, he was appointed as a Supreme Court Justice. From 1887 to 1889, he served as a city councilor of Manila. He also served as a councilor in First Provincial Convention in Manila from 1883 until becoming a substitute justice of the Tertulia Audiencia of Manila. When Emilio Aguinaldo's revolutionary government was established, he was offered by the position of Secretary of Foreign Affairs on July 15, 1898, which he declined because di siya ganahan og samok. On May 29, 1899, he was appointed as a Chief Justice of the Provincial Supreme Court, established by the military government under the leadership of Gobernador General Elwell Otis to replace the Spanish Audiencia. General Otis asked him to assist forming and organizing the Supreme Court by drafting the Mercantile Law, Code of Criminal Procedures, revising on marriage law, and even the laws regarding municipal government. On June 24, 1899, he was along with the other Filipinos as Pedro Paterno, Benito Ligarda, Florentino Flores, and Felipe Buencamino by participated in advocating for its annexation of the United States before the Scorman Commission formally declaring that Philippines was not capable of self-government. On December 23, 1900, they jointly formed by Federal Federal Party in 37 at 37 Balobos Street, Quiapo, Manila, to promote the American colonization of the Philippines and make it a state of the United States. At the at the beginning of the civil government of the United States and the establishment of the Philippine Commission in 1901, he was appointed by the Governor William Howard Taft as a first Justice of the Supreme Court from June 12, 1901 until his retirement on April 12, 1920. Siya ang ginadugayan na Chief Justice. Siya ang ginunhan na Chief Justice ug siya sa ginudugayan nga Chief Justice. When Theodore Roosevelt became President of United States, he also appointed Arellano to represent the United States and the Philippines at the International Congress Juries in St. Louis in 1904, until he passed away on December 23, 19.
Good day everyone, I'm Princess Jeanette B. Bagalanon from Group 9, and here's my topic about biography of Manuel Luis Quezon y Molina o kinilalang Manuel L. Quezon. Si Manuel L. Quezon, usa ka Filipino statesman, sundalo ug politiko. Nagserbisyo pagka-presidente sa Commonwealth sa Pilipinas gikan sa 1935 hangtod siyang pagkamatay ni atong 1944. Siya ay adunay importante nga papel sa tibuok Pilipinas sa nasod ug kini ang siya ang unang Filipino nga nangulo sa gobyerno. Si Quezon giunahuna isip kaduhang presidente sa Pilipinas human sa termino ni Emilio Aguinaldo gikan sa 1899 hangtod sa 1901. Si Quezon gipanganak sa Baler sa distrito ng El Principe, lalawigan ng Tayabas sa pitsa nga August 19, 1878. His parents Locio Quezon ug si Maria Dolores Molina. His father usa ka retired nga sargento sa Espanyol nga Korean nga hukbo ug usa ka maestro sa primary grade school. While his mother siya pod usa ka maestra sa primary grade school sa ilang lungsod. Si Quezon nakadawat sa daghan sa iyang edukasyon sa elementarya gikan sa publikong eskwelahan nga gitukod sa pamahalaan sa Espanya sa ilang lungsod. Ingon nga bahin sa libreng sistema sa publikong edukasyon sa Pilipinas, siya mitisfy niining nahitungdan siyang pagsulti sa House of Representatives sa Estados Unidos ato sa discussion sa Jonesville sa tuig 1914. Human ani, niadto siya sa Kolehiyo de San Juan de Letran ug diri siya mikumpleto sa iyang secondary education. Sa tuig 1819, gibiyan ni Quezon ang iyang mga pagtuon sa balaod sa Universidad sa Santo Tomas aron moapil sa kalihukan sa independence during gubat sa Pilipinas Amerikano. Siya usa ka IDD Campo kang Emilio Aguinaldo. Kanang IDD Campo mao nang usa ka opisyal sa militar nga nagsilbing confidential assistant sa usa ka senior officer. Niadtong 1900, siya ni sa kasaranggo sa major ug nangayo sa sektor sa Bataan. Pero human niya tugyan niya atong 1900, mibalik si Quezon sa universidad ug mipasa sa bar examinations na atong 1903 nga gisiguro ang ikaupat nga posisyon. Si Manuel Quezon nagtrabaho as a assistant ug surveyor tas ipasulod sa serbisyo sa gobyerno isip gipili as a financier alang sa Mindoro ug dugan pa sa Tayabas. Gihimo siya councilor ug gipili nga gobernador sa Tayabas niadtong 1906 human sa usa ka challenging nga eleksyon. Nadtong 1907, si Manuel Quezon napili sa unang Philippine Assembly nga sa ulahi nahimong House of Representatives. Niini nga kapasidad, nagserbisyo siya pagka-majority floor leader o chairman sa Committee on Rules. Gikan sa 1901 hangtod 1916, nagserbisyo siya isip usa sa duha ka residente nga commissioner sa Pilipinas sa US House of Representatives. Din siya naglabi alang pagpasa sa Philippine Autonomy Act, nailhansad nga Jones Law. Niadtong 1916, si Manuel Quezon nibalik sa Manila ug napili pagka-senador sa Senado sa Pilipinas. Nagpadayon siya nga nahimong presidente sa Senado, padayon nagserbisyo hangtod sa 1935. nga naghimo sa iya nga labing kadugay nga nagserbisyo sa presidente sa Senado sa 19 ka tuig. Gipangunahan ni Quezon ang unang nga independente nga misyon sa Kongreso sa Estados Unidos kaniadtong 1919. Diin malampuson niyang nakuha pagpasa sa Tidings-McDuffie Act, ang balaod sa US nga naghatag alang sa kagawasan sa Pilipinas kaniadtong 1934. Dugag pa kaniadtong 1922, gipanguluhan ni Quezon ang Nacionalista Party Alliance. Nakasal si Manuel L. Quezon siyang first cousin, si Aurora Aragon Quezon, on December 17, 1918. Nagkaanak sila og upat, sila Maria Aurora Quezon, si Maria Zeneza Quezon, si Luisa Corazon Paz Quezon ug si Manuel L. Quezon Jr. His adopted grandson si Manuel L. Manula Quezon III, usa ka prominente nga manunulat ug karon nga undersecretary sa Presidential Communications, Development at Strategic Planning Office giila sa iyang pangalan. Base na ibungmo nga nakasal si Manuel ug Aurora nga ig-agaw man sila. Sa una way batas, pagka August 3, 1918 pa na buhat ang batas mauning Section 1, Article 38 of the Family Code prohibits marriage of relatives up to the fourth civil degree. Cousin marriages are not allowed. Niadtong 1935, si Quezon nakadaog sa unang presidential eleksyon sa Pilipinas under the banner of the Nacionalista Party. Naka 68% sa boto laban sa iyang duha ka kontra, silang Emilio Aguinaldo o Gregorio Aglipay. Ang pagselebrar kang Quezon na itabo sa November 1935, siya gidawat nga ikaduhang presidente sa Pilipinas. Pero pagka Enero 2008, si House Representative Rodolfo Valencia sa Oriental Mindoro nag-file siya og bill sa isa ka balaod nga nagpamatuod nga siya ang ikaduhang presidente sa Pilipinas. Nagtinguha sa pagdayag ni General Miguel Malvar isip kaduha nga presidente sa Pilipinas human mabutayan kang Aguinaldo sa 1901. During Manuel Quezon's presidency, gi-address niya ang isyu sa kawalayuta, depensa sa militar, pagrehistro sa gobyerno, paglambo sa Mindanao, kontrol sa mga foreign nga trading, reforma sa yuta o mga step against sa corruption. Nagtukod sa siya ang gobyerno in exile sa US during sa World War II. Ang government in exile sang pamahalaan pansamantalang itinatag sa dayuhang lupa kasunod ng pananakop sa sarili nitong teritoryo ng ibang otoridad. Pagkabaon niya nga na siya sakit, he went to the US for medical treatment for his tuberculosis. He traveled to Saranac Lake, New York, where he sought treatment at a sanatorium, including sa Miami Beach Army Hospital. Dito siya sa usa ka care cottage sa Saranac Lake. Dito siya namatay sa oras nga alas 10:05 sa buntag, August 1, 1944 sa edad nga 65. Gilubong siya sa Arlington National Cemetery sa US until the end of World War II. When he remains ang iyang patayng lawas, gibalin sa Manila, so his final resting place sa Quezon Memorial Circle sa Quezon City. Maong wa dayon nabalhin iyang lawas kay naabtan sa World War II, wa na transport or masakyan papunta sa Pilipinas kay giyera naman. Si Presidente Quezon gihatagan og gahom ubos sa Reorganization Act nga nagtudlo sa unang All-Filipino Philippines nadtong 1935. Gikan sa 1901 hangtod 1935, bisan og usa ka Filipino ang kanunay gitudlo nga Chief Justice, kadaghanan sa mga miyembro sa Korte Suprema mga Amerikano. Ang bugos nga Pilipinisasyon nakabut lamang sa diyang natukod ang Commonwealth of the Philippines niadtong 1935. Si Claro M. Recto ug Jose P. Laurel may usa sa mga unang gitudlo ni Quezon ang mupuli sa mga maestrado sa Amerika. Ang mga miyembro sa Korte Suprema ni-increase to 11 na binubuo ng isang punong maestrado at 10 kasamang maestrado na nakaupo sa en banc or on the bench o sa dalawang dibisyon.
This is my topic about biography of Imelda R. Marcos. Imelda Romualdez Marcos, born on July 2, 1929 in Manila, Philippines. has a diverse and influential background that has shaped her life and political career. So, si Imelda Romualdez Marcos, natao niadtong Hulyo 2, 1929 sa Manila, Pilipinas. Adunay lain-laing ug influential nga kaagi nga nag-umol sa iyang kinabuhi ug politikanong karera. Imelda Marcos was born into the Romualdez family, a prominent and wealthy clan in the Philippines. Si Imelda Marcos natao sa pamilyang Romualdez, usa ka prominente o gadunahang clan sa Pilipinas. Her upbringing was characterized by privilege and exposure to high society, which influenced her later role as a public figure. Ang iyang pagpadako giulagway pinaagi sa pribilehiyo ug pagkaladlad sa taas nga katilingban nga naka-impluwensya sa iyang ulahi nga papel isip usa ka publiko nga tawo. She received her education in the Philippines and pursued a career in the arts, initially gaining recognition as a beauty queen and actress. So, si Imelda Marcos nakadawat sa iyang edukasyon sa Pilipinas ug nagpadayon sa usa ka karera sa arts. Sa sinugdanan, nakaangkon ang pag-ila isip beauty queen ug actress. Her early experiences in the entertainment industry laid the foundation for her later involvement in cultural and artistic endeavors. Ang iyang unang mga kasinatian sa industriya sa kalingawan nagpahimutang sa pundasyon alang sa iyang ulahi nga pag-apil sa kultural ug artistikong mga paningkamot. Imelda's marriage to Ferdinand Marcos, a rising political figure, was a turning point in her life. Ang kaminyoon ni Imelda kang Ferdinand Marcos, usa ka nagkataas nga politikanhong tao, mao'y usa ka kausaban sa iyang kinabuhi. Their union not only elevated their social status, but also positioned her as a key figure in Philippine politics when Ferdinand became president in 1965. Ang ilang opinyon wala lamang nagpataas sa iyang kahimtang sa katilingban, kundili nagbutang usab kaniya isip usa ka importanteng tao sa politika sa Pilipinas sa dihang si Ferdinand nahimong presidente niadtong 1965. She served as the First Lady of the Philippines from 1965 to 1986, a period marked by significant cultural and infrastructure development projects initiated by her. Si Imelda Marcos nagsilbi nga unang ginang sa Pilipinas gikan sa 1965 ngadto sa 1986. Usa ka panahon gimarkahan sa mahinungdanong mga proyekto sa pagpalambo sa kultura ug infrastruktura nga gipasiugdahan niya. She was known for her passion for the arts and her efforts to promote Philippine culture on the global stage. Nailhan siya sa iyang hilig sa arts ug sa iyang mga paningkamot sa pagpalambo sa kultura sa Pilipinas sa tibuok kalibutan nga entablado. Imelda Marcos wielded considerable political influence during her husband's presidency, with some referring to her as the steel butterfly for her combination of grace and strength in navigating the political landscape. So, adunay dakong impluwensya sa politika sa panahon sa pagka-presidente sa iyang bana. Diin ang uban nagtawag kaniya nga steel butterfly tungod sa iyang kombinasyon sa grasya ug kusog sa paglawig sa politikanong talan-awon. She played a pivotal role in various government initiatives and policies. Naghimo siya usa ka hinungdanon nga papel sa lain-laing mga inisyatibo ug palisiya sa gobyerno.